Hello once again. This time around we are drawing eyes. Eyes are some of the most elusive and interesting aspects of the human face. And when you are looking at eyes, we want to think about anatomy. So the first thing you should start off with is an eyeball. The eyeball is a sphere. So nice big circle, because remember, anything that you do in life can be broken down into those basic shapes, and then you build off of them. Inside of the eye, about half the size, is going to be your iris. Your iris is a colored part of your eye, and inside that is the pupil. Now your pupil is always black. The pupil is in the very center of the eye. It does not move. Sometimes it gets bigger and smaller, but it does not move. I am going to include just a itty bitty highlight and place that there. You don't have to do that unless you want to, though. Make sure you're drawing very lightly, because we will be erasing a lot of this. Moving on top of the eye is going to be your eyelid. I'm going to start on the very edge of my eyeball and arc it over and continue slightly off the side. That slightly off the side is your tear duct. Everybody's got a tear duct, so make sure to include that. All right, and coming right around. I'm defining some of these areas because you want to always include the fact that you are going to have eyebrows. You can just block those in right now. Don't have to be anything super perfect. And your brow bone. Your brow bone is what's keeping your eyeball in the socket. Super, super important to have. And we are getting quite a lot of lines in here, so let's erase some of the ones that we don't need. That's why it's super important to always draw lightly. All right, now we have the anatomy of our eye is correct. We're going to keep that. And after this point, it's all about shading. Shading is going to be your friend as you work on your eye and as you work on anything, really. Now, make sure that you fill in your pupil. The pupil is always black. Sometimes it does have a reflected area off of it, but it is always going to be black because it's actually a hole in your eye. If you don't believe me, go check it out. Also, as we're working, your iris is going to have lots of color on it. I don't always understand when people don't add color to their iris. It's got lots of lines, and they're going to be going in multiple directions. Sometimes eyes are darker, sometimes they're lighter. Looking at a reference is always going to be a good idea. And under that top lid, there is going to be a shadow. So make sure to include that. This white area on your eyeball is not going to be perfectly white. You want to add some values. I'm just barely touching my paper here. I'm just very, very lightly tapping in some values. And then I'm going to start defining some of my edges and blocking in where I want everything. On the bottom of your eyelid, you do have that lowered area that, generally speaking, everybody can see, but everybody's eyes are a little bit different, so if you can't see it on yours, don't stress out too much. just building some values on the top of your eyes. There's going to be some shadows. And underneath your eye, there's going to be some shadows. Make sure you're not doing too many lines. Otherwise, your person's going to start to look a little old. Unless that's what you want. Maybe your person is a little older and you want them to look that way. That's fine. Oh. You can grab a blending stump. Start softening up some of those lines if you wanted to. You don't have to. You can also use a Q-tip or tissue paper. You can use your finger. I like using blending stumps because I don't always love getting graphite all over my hands. Everybody's different. And that might have got a little bit dark, but I have this lovely thing called an eraser where I can edit it out. I'm gonna add in some more values within my iris and then go back in and define it. One thing to be wary of whenever you're using a blending stump is it does have a tendency to gray out your objects, so just be aware of that. So you lose some of your really brilliant blacks. So I'm pushing some values in various areas. And bringing them back in others. Don't forget about the eyebrow. Now when you're working with your eyebrow, do not just color it in. It's a lot of little lines. You're gonna go up, and then you're gonna go back, and you wanna follow the shape of the eyebrow as you're working. And maybe your person has a couple stray hairs and maybe going off in one direction a little bit more than they should. Maybe your eyebrows are super bushy, or maybe not. That's going to be dependent on you and how you create your eyebrows. Okay? Just make sure you are being purposeful. My little tear duct. Eyelashes on the bottom are going to be more individualistic, and you can see them a little more clearly. And all I'm doing is pressing onto the bottom lid and just pulling down slightly. These are very soft. And if you feel that you got them a little abrupt, just tap your eraser on them a little bit, and that'll soften them out for you. You'll notice that as I'm working, I have a tendency to move around my page. It keeps me from getting too hung up on one specific area or another, which I find helpful. Because if I get too attached to anything specific, it means I really don't want to change it later, which sometimes can become problematic. All right. I do need to add some eyelashes up top as well. Now your eyelashes should swoop. They should swoop. Kind of like a Nike swish. They're not straight. You are not doing an eye like this. You're not a cartoon character. You can see where you can see individual lashes and count them all out. If you get real close to somebody, you can. But generally speaking, that's just simply not the case. Easy way to do it is to make little loops on the bottom and the interior of the eye, because they do swoop into the eye. And then from there, you can build off of them. And they're going to go in multiple directions. Your eyelashes are going to be generally quite dark. And you got some coming forward. The ones closer to the nose and the interior of the eye, a lot of times are shorter and much softer. It's not always the case though, because like we talked about, everybody is different. I don't really like that eyelash, so I'm getting rid of it. And you just keep working until you're happy. And that is how you draw an eye. Thanks for watching.